Welcome, welcome. Today we have Mr. Subrat Chakravarti. He's the head of HR for Europe and Africa markets in HCL Technologies. Subrat holds a chartered fellow in CIPD. Wow, that's awesome. And has been in the profession for over 26 years. And Subrat, in his career, has been chief people officer in some of his assignments. He's also had a few consulting stints and overall has been business partnering, has been heading regions in HR for very, very large companies. Thank you, Subrat. Thank you so much. Indeed.
Pleasure to connect and really excited.
Thank you, Subrat. So for our viewers, the agenda today is with Subrat around. We thought it would be a great idea to ask him to share with us his own learnings in international HRM, adapting as Indian HR professional while working abroad, and a lot more in that direction. So over to you, Subrat.
Lovely, lovely. No, it is, I would say, in a way, the world, and I had a fortune to kind of pretty much do HR in every part of the world now, hands-on. Just before this assignment, I was looking after the Asia Pacific and Middle East. And then I moved on to do Europe and Africa markets. And in a way, it's a deja vu feeling because many years back, I started my career in hardcore industrial relations before moving to different professions. So it is in many ways the perception I had of the, if I say when I was studying and many years after that in the career of the industrial relations scenario in a capitalist world is, the perceptions are quite different than the reality. I think particularly after coming to Europe, I realized that how mature the practices are and how alive is still the industrial relation environment. And here we see that, pretty much across the board, whether it is services, whether it is manufacturing, you see the presence of, collective, kind of bargaining, regime existing across industry and pretty much across the board in the workforce, apart from, say, executive management. So the law also provides for those framework, and people also take a due interest in doing that. And even the agenda has matured, from just being wage and salary and, the typical regime of industrial relation. I think it's matured significantly to look into the areas of wellness, look into the areas of employee safety, security, and of course the traditional matters of policy, dealing with ups and downs. Like it's a good time to speak about it because as COVID faced us, it did throw many challenges, right from starting with the safety security of the workforce to now the challenge of reorganizing ourselves in some areas where the business is kind of seeing cyclical turn. All that is a matter which you can transparently discuss with them, and very fair, I would say, a very fair appreciation of the overall business context by them. And this to me, personally, if you ask me, organizationally, there could be many point of view on whether you should have a union, not have a union, you should have a work council, not have a work council. All my life, I've seen that if you develop and nurture a relationship which is transparent, and you constantly keep, putting the organization sustenance and employee well-being as top of the agenda, you can create a very collaborative environment, and which works out pretty much, I would say, when you need it, it comes very handy. Let me put it that way. Of course, in the BAU environment, you will have difference of opinion. You will have disagreements. Sometimes you agree to disagree, and that also is not a bad situation. But truly, when it comes to a crisis In my experience, I've seen that relationship pays off in making the right judgments and not get caught in our own worlds.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So I think you just landed exactly at the landing point on the runway, which is the heart of the matter is employee relations, and the fact that probably mature economies allow for a lot more empathy on both sides, because people have gone through many more cycles than probably a developing an economy like India, and how this really is a helpful thing rather than something that's against business. So I think wonderful points coming up there. Would you like to share your own learnings in terms of how did you go about learning and adapting to
Yeah.
these kind of situations in multiple countries? Because I see you traveled across multiple countries, and it's kind of a new day every day. So how did you go about learning and updating?
No, and absolutely. And I think I must say upfront, it's not a easy path. There's no quick fix solution, because in our profession, you can't deal at the periphery. The issues are real, the situations are real, the answers cannot be kind of fuzzy. It has to, even if it starts at a fuzzy point, ultimately you have to nail it down to specifics, because it impacts people's salary, it impacts people's benefit, it impacts people's terms of employment, it impacts their retirement, it impacts their severance payment. So even if you start at a little fuzzy point, you have to have mechanism that you narrow it down to the very specific and ultimately reduce it to a written agreement, either whether individual or collective. So personally, in this, of course, I had the advantage of doing the corporate job for a period of time. So I won't say I walked in absolutely raw, but then, in these situations, the real test is when rubber hits the road, right? And it's not an easy landscape. We have 26 countries that we do business in Europe. And while there are European Union as an umbrella, framework in many areas of data security, employment law, etc. Having said that, each member country within EU itself has their own variations and own framework. Some of them are very, very codified. So you pretty much have a defined equation which you need to know. Those are, I would say, still a relatively easy area, because ultimately it's about your appetite, how quickly you can learn, whether proactively or reactively. And I must confess, both happens even today. So, you really sometime have to learn on the fly. And sometime, of course, always the endeavor is that you put your own design, that how you are quick, constantly enriching yourself in the practices. And that's why you see whether I think I always felt that reading the book is one part of the learning, but in this area, if you are not plugged into the right network, it's very difficult to keep pace with the case laws or the changes or the interpretation of the law, or even reach out to the right stakeholders when you need some critical experience. So I think that was if you ask me, you asked a personal question, let me start with that now. I think the first endeavor for me was to get plugged into that network. And that has been of phenomenal help. Whether it is a lot of learning also comes because we do a lot of work with the clients. And, as you know, our business, some large business transactions where people element becomes very, very central. That is one excellent channel by which, you very quickly learn. But that's where I said that's more reactive. But the more proactive side has been, of course, own learning, own reading. And perhaps that's why I said that this was my second MBA in last 2 years. Pretty much go through the entire journey, read as much as possible, on your own, engage with your local teams, refine that knowledge, use every case as an opportunity, and not to just kind of every case you horizontally and vertically expand to capture as much as you can, even if the action is in a precise area. I think those are some of the, I would say, um, steps, and I think the journey continues. I just say, I'm still scratching the surface in terms of
Thank you so much, Subrat. I think the entire thing about plugging into networks, reaching out to clients. I think that was a great learning, um, and working with local teams. So all this calls for something which to me talks about personal credibility, right?
Mhm.
At a deeper level, if that is there, then everything else falls in place. And this might this question might not actually just be about your stints abroad, but as a HR professional, what have been some of your pillars, in the area of building personal credibility and practicing as a professional?
Yeah. No, and I think this profession particularly, which I always tell my teams as well, unlike relying on a body of knowledge, which we rely, of course, and it has grown, it has matured, it has respect. But having said that, I always say that a CFO and CHRO job, that's the difference. When CFO throws a rule, nobody will question. But when a CHRO throws the rule, he's expected to come with multiple ways to circumvent that, right? And that's the nature of the animal, and the more wider the landscape is, the more complex is the answer. The business always believe that every such situation should have an alternative, and many a times, I think, to take a point of view, and most of the time it will be at a crisis time when you don't have a enormous time to do your primary research. um, I think a lot depends on the credibility you build within the system, and that credibility is, in my experience, Naga, is purely based on how you take a 360-degree view of the issue, and not just tangled in your own professional learning and experiences. So your ability to keep the past learnings, past experiences, your own knowledge and learning, and your own experiences aside, the ability to analyze every situation uh, afresh, in the new light, in the context of the situation, and work with the stakeholders to educate and find the solution at the same time. I think the real, if you ask me, in my experience, where it has worked most amicably is when you not impose your knowledge, but impart your knowledge and let the business state out the solution, which is the most obvious solution, instead of you, kind of preaching or proposing or enforcing a solution. It becomes tedious, and I tell you, at sometimes it is not as pleasantly as I'm saying. But I think at least in my experience, the most sustainable solutions, and it's not that we don't make mistakes, the mistakes do happen, but I would say the most sustainable solutions have been in the area when you let the solution emerge from the business by educating them on the different pros and cons of taking a certain action, using your primary knowledge of the law, the experiences of the past, bringing the context in, and help them analyze the context and multiple dimensions of that.
Thank you, Subrat. As you were talking to me, two things occurred to me, which is one is a very coaching approach in terms of giving a little bit of information and then letting the individual make out his or her own decision. And the
Yeah.
second is this a very very deep archetype of a Raj Guru, right? Someone who is there as counsel to the king, but the kings got to make the decisions finally.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
hence the decision is no longer somebody else's, but the businesses. I think on that wonderful positive note, we are ending this particular interaction, but looking forward to your support and having you over again for many, many more topics in the near future. Thanking you for it. And of course, to our viewers, requesting you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. That kind of helps YouTube's algorithm to pick it up and flash it to many, many more interested users. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay home.
Same to you, Nagar. Take care.
Thank
Speak
you.
to you
Bye.
again.